We're live. I'm Richard Holder out at the car farm. We're going to sit around and we're going to talk and find out how my trip was all the way out from California, because it was about 2,500 miles and I made it most of the way there. So we're going to go over all that stuff. It's good to see the live crew here. So we're going to sit down with all the car farm guys. Everybody say hi. Hi. Yeah. I don't even get like a chair, like with the backing or anything. No. Okay, so that should be good. Hopefully everybody can hear us. We're going to try to get to some of the comments later on. So if you got questions for the car farm guys, you can see the Omni is here. It is a 1985 GLH turbo, soon to be something very cool, like a couple of the very ones are sitting here, which is a GLHS Turbo 2 with an intercooler. Because as everybody here now knows, I have tremendous intercooler envy. Every time I walk by a T1, I'm thinking, that would be so much better. Except for your car, which it has to be the best T1 in existence. It is awesome. But I do need an intercooler on mine, so that's what we're trying to do. Swap a T2 into here and get it California legal, which will be a little bit difficult, but I think we can do it, and it will be awesome to be able to drive around. And to really make the guys mad that have all these GLHSs, I'm going to put GLHS stickers on this, even though it's not a GLHS. So it will be fun. But I digress. I need to go over a couple things. One, the 2002 Silverado with 300,000 miles made it most of the way here, towing this thing on a tow dolly, I don't know, 2,400 and something miles. And as I pulled off of the freeway, I was like, I could almost see it. And the transmission said, you know what? We've had a long life. We've done a lot of stuff together, but I'm done. I'm going to give you nothing but neutrals. And luckily these guys came and helped out. They brought a trailer. What was cool about the trailer and the truck?
It was not quite big enough door for the truck.
Yeah, the truck would almost fit in the trailer. So what do we have to do?
Let the air out of the tires.
That's it. See, that's the secret. Let the air out of tires, and then we could just squeeze the truck in and bring it over here. So we were able to find, thanks to Ben, we were able to find a used, or not even used, it's rebuilt, right?
Reman.
A Reman 4L60E, and it's a stage 17 with a Corvette servo and all of those things.
It was manufactured and they manufactured it again.
That they didn't get it right the first time.
It's extra manufactured.
Yes, there's nothing like it. It's like a twice baked potato. It's just only nothing but good. So hopefully we're going to get that in and get the truck running back. It's just be nice to be able to get back home. That happened to me. I told you guys when I drove my Civic down to Southern California, and I went to a conference down there. And I mean, these are all like car guys and manufacturers and everything. So the parking lot at this hotel where we were staying at, and we would go around. Basically what they had is they would ring a bell and you'd go into a room and talk to a manufacturer for 20 minutes, and then they'd ring another bell and then you had to leave and go talk to another manufacturer. So it was like speed dating, but for car guys. And so all of these fancy cars are there in the parking lot, and they stole my piece of junk 94 Honda Civic, although it was a VX, I have to say, so it was the high-fueled version. But they stole that. So in order to get home, that's why I had to buy that truck down in Southern California just so I could make it back home. So now it looks like I got to get a transmission to make it back home. Yeah. So you know, it's a cycle of life.
It is
a circle of life.
It's just ironic that a Dodge had to tow you the rest of the way.
Exactly. So all of you Chevy people, a Dodge was able to come save the Chevrolet. So
here comes the Chevy.
Here comes the Chevy. Here comes the comment. Yep. But we're by a Dodge anyway, so it stands to reason. You guys should see all of the cool like Dodge 2.2 liter stuff. If you have not taken a look at it, make sure to go take a look at the video that I put up. We went over all of the T versions, basically T1, T2, T3, T4. TM for Maserati, I guess.
Yeah, we made up a T5.
We made up a T5, and I'm sure it's going to make all of the 2.2 guys.
It's not a T5.
Yeah, you can't call it that. That's not official. That can't really be a thing. I'm going to make shirts that say T5, and it's going to have a picture of the Maserati engine on it. Yeah, that will drive everybody nuts.
It's for everybody that knows what a Maserati 2.2 is.
Oh, for the 3 or 4 people who actually know what that is. So are you watching the comments?
I'm watching the comments.
All right. So the goal of all of this, as I said, was to come out here. We towed this car out here so that these experts in the 2.2 liter field could take, and with all of the stuff that they have here, help me get a working 2.2 T2 intercooled turbo of the right year and all of that stuff in this. And it's turned out to be, as always, a little more of an adventure than we thought it was going to be, right?
Right.
but it's not something that you know, we can't overcome, just like with the transmission thing. So hopefully we'll get that going. We are actually right now building another motor for it, because it wasn't just like we're going to go take a motor out. Nobody that owns a GLHS turbo is going to let you take their motor out to put it in a T1 car, because those cars are too valuable now. Those cars are nice.
They'll be copy.
So I don't know if the clone's going to be worth more money or if it's going to be better. It's going to be bluer, that's for sure.
Well, and the thing that I care about is
Intercooled stickers.
you know, that's the only thing. Really, I could. If you guys could have just sent me an intercooled sticker, that probably would have been enough.
Brian showed up with an intercooled
Yeah.
sticker and you lost your mind. He shows up with a T2 GLHS intercooler. You're like, I just want
Not
the
that big a
sticker.
deal.
Well, what would have been cool is if I put the intercooled sticker on it and then put like an NA motor in it. Then that would really drive people nuts.
Maybe, yeah. They're still quick even NA.
Yeah. No, I can put a header on it. And...
Yeah.
So that's the goal. Is we're going to take this thing and get it ready. But in order to do that, because this thing didn't have an engine and transmission, you guys all saw the video before where we took it out, and that one was a 2.5 with a, what is the 568 trans? 568 trans, and had a front mount intercooler and all kinds of stuff, and a torched head like nothing I've ever seen.
Well, it's actually the good stuff. We just
It's what you should do if you
Yeah.
have a car like this.
Yeah. If you have a car like that and you don't want it to pass California smog.
Yeah. If you live somewhere in another state, maybe you can get away with it, or you're making your race car, then you could do that. But I want to make it stock, and the other reason I want to make it stock is in looking, because I've done searches like on the internet whenever I decide to look at this, or like the 280ZX turbo, or the 4-cylinder Pontiac, the half of a trophy motor. Whenever I do that, I go look for all this stuff. I'm like, I want to see all of the dyno data that everybody has, and I go there on YouTube, I go online, and it's like crickets. Like, what does a stock one of these make on a chassis dyno? I don't know. Whoever runs a stock one. I'm like, but you had to start somewhere. When you bought the car, didn't anybody take it and put it on? Oh, I guess maybe back in the 80s they probably didn't go, well, they probably didn't go to a chassis dyno in the 80s, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too
that-
bad. Because that's what I wanted to see.
Right.
I wanted to see what does it do when it's stock? What do you do when you add the intercooler? And we want to answer all these questions like, what is the roller cam worth? If is it worth anything? What is the slider cam worth? What is the Super 60 stuff worth? How much better is a 2.5 than a 2.2? You know, all of this stuff. And now, even more so than back then, we have the E85. So these things, any turbo motor just loves the 85.
Yeah.
So we want to show what that does versus 91. You know,
Way better electronics.
yeah, that should be a lot of it.
Great electronics.
Yeah, and I want to answer all those questions, because when we're talking for hours and hours, we go over all of this stuff.
And is there more hearsay or more options, do you think?
And you get that with anything. I mean, whether you're looking at Honda stuff, because I was told for forever that when you're running a Honda, oh, you can't run, those rods will break. I'm like, I run endurance racing and B-Series Hondas. We run for 24 hours, so they're not going to get hurt. You know, and the same thing with the modular Fords. Oh, those rods break at 400 horsepower. I'm like, how does the rod know how much horsepower you're making? It doesn't have any idea.
That's it.
Yeah, it's
It can decide that you make no horsepower or something.
yeah, it can take that. It can take that right down to nothing. So that's what I did. The 2.2 stuff. I decided I'm going to find out. If the answers aren't out there already, I'm going to try to answer those questions. So I found that 84 motor on the 600 in the wrecking yard, and quickly realized that why it was in the wrecking yard. It wasn't because the car was crashed. It's because the motor was no good. But that didn't stop us from starting it on the stand, that was kind of super cool.
Does it have low compression? I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That head was also torqued, although not as bad as the 2.5.
Right.
So it was not good.
Yeah.
And I told you it had a broken head bolt.
Oh, what we do is we just silicone those back in.
That's exactly what they did.
Right?
They didn't even use the good silicone.
Oh, it's a blue?
Yeah.
That's why.
They used the cheap stuff.
Supposed to use the gray.
Right.
It's not bad enough that
The
the guy,
gray's the way to go.
like, he broke the head bolt. And I'm like, okay, if you broke a head bolt, then you didn't want to chase that or put it back in or take the head off, you at least take the broken part out and set it aside, because siliconing that in there is not going to make it any better.
I don't know. It's that guy that knocks something over and just, kind of half-heartedly puts it back on the shelf and just pats it and walks away. I saw that with that LS recently too.
Oh, really? The guy had stripped and broken off the rocker stud. So he like tried to glue the rocker and the broken bolt assembly back in place. I'm like,
Should work good.
That's like the
yeah,
Brady Bunch episode.
what is that gonna do?
When they played ball in the house and they knocked over the statue.
Yeah.
Mom said, "Don't
Yep.
break.
Don't play ball in the house." Yep.
Or get that.
Yeah.
Right.
Did they glue it back together?
I think they
Yeah,
did.
they
because
did.
She knew.
She knew. They had
Oh,
a
there's
talking
lots of
to.
cracks
I'm
in
sure
it.
I'm sure Mike Brady was disappointed in whoever put that headbolt on that car.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so what are we doing on the motor that we're building? So that's gonna be a T2 motor, right? Like a real T2 motor.
Yeah, it basically turned out to be the 87 Chrysler version of the T2, the Dodge version.
Okay, and
So
so
it's got-
for these guys that don't speak like 2.2 Dodge, so what is the difference that we're talking about here?
So it was a GLHS motor. It would have a cast crank,
Okay,
and then they just put the
even if it was a
even if it was in
the
the shell,
Shelby, right?
right?
Okay,
Because it had a cast crank.
Yeah.
And then it had the T2 upper end,
Okay.
turbo, manifold, stuff like that. Now,
did
the
those at
Dodge-
least have good rods in them or anything?
same rods?
Same rods. Okay.
Lightweight.
There's a lightweight rod. Yeah. So the T2 in the Daytona is better.
Okay.
It's
So
got a-
forged
it's got a
crank
little
and better
heavier rod,
rod.
a full floating piston,
Okay.
and a forged crank.
Okay. Because these would have been pressed.
Basically, that started as a T1 engine,
Yeah.
and Shelby took the head off, put the turbo manifold.
Yeah.
The different manifold, the bigger turbo,
Okay.
and intercooled it.
And
The
they
bottom
even
end was
did that
all
in
stock.
'87 on the
On the 87 GLHS, same thing.
on the Chargers, right?
Right.
Because they didn't even did they do that early before Dodge had done all of the like regular
research,
T2 stuff?
yeah. Kind of the deal was that Dodge sold Shelby the car,
Okay.
and then he did the mods, and then it was a research project, and if it was reliable and people liked it,
Yeah.
then Dodge had the rights to do it the next year.
Okay.
So they kind of learned on these cars
Yeah.
the weak points.
Yeah.
And then they upgraded. So then when Dodge started building the T2 cars, they got a heavier duty transmission, and they got the heavier duty parts in the motor.
Oh, that's right. Because the trans
So
was the same as
trans
the
was
regular
upgraded to
GLH,
the-
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
525.
yeah. So
525.
yeah, it was a learning platform,
That's good.
and they did break a lot.
The motor
The early,
profile or
the early cars
transmission?
did break
Okay.
transmissions and
Okay.
had motor problems.
For guys trying to race them around, turning the boost up, not leaving it stock like they're supposed to,
That's how.
They did that.
Yeah.
running nitrous on it.
So the motor we're putting in the blue car is going to be more the Dodge spec.
Okay. Dodge spec, but stock
Stock.
T2, right?
Right. Yeah.
Essentially, it's the cat's out of the bag. A stock '87 Chrysler drivetrain
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
with Shelby Electronics. That's where we're at today.
And the 525 trans, which is what would have came in a GLHS.
Although, have you talked to him about the shifter and the cables?
We
This might be a big
We looked
reveal
at that,
here.
and it was
Yeah.
a disappointment.
We would like to.
kick up the audio in the back.
Yeah.
Slow, soft-spoken Brian, and the microphone's up here.
Yeah.
I've never heard him yell. Just FYI.
Okay. We're gonna have to bring him closer to the
Yeah,
mic.
he
right?
might be yelling right now for all
I
I know.
know.
Yeah.
The engine is not in yet, Mark.
It is in the garage.
Yeah, we can actually, well, we could walk in there and see it. Although what happens is, the reason that we're out here, sitting out here outside the shop, is that when we go into the shop, and tell them what you call the shop.
It's a Faraday cage.
It's a Faraday cage, so we would lose all, and we actually go into a different plane of existence.
Yeah, I think we've probably been in there 3 months and we didn't even know.
Yeah,
it came outside.
exactly, yeah.
Winter's already come and
Yes.
gone.
Although another awesome tidbit for today, I caught 2 snakes.
Yeah.
One was a lifer, so it was a snake I'd never caught before in my life, which was a milk snake, very, very, very similar to a king snake, but better color and stuff there, which was awesome. The other was a garter snake, which is always good to catch too, and he was really feisty. Actually, both of them were fairly feisty. They wanted to throw down. They wanted to go rounds. But so that was kind of awesome to be able to come out here and do all of this crazy stuff and to find 2 snakes, which was very, very cool.
And I learned you're a snake guy.
Exactly. So we were talking about being geeks and
Yeah.
nerds. That's the thing.
Of some level. And
Yes.
the thing was, well, where's Richard at? He's supposed to be
Yeah.
sanding. Oh, he's out in the field again like a child chasing
Yeah.
snakes.
Lifting up boards and kicking over
Yes,
stuff.
True story.
Yes.
But what's ironic is you're like, I'm looking. The first thing he did when he got out of the car.
Yeah.
That was the first thing you did.
That's right.
You didn't run across the lot to look at the the row of
Yeah.
Spirit RTs. You jumped out of my truck and immediately walked over to a busted Dakota that had some plywood laying on the ground next to that green one over there, and starts lifting up mats.
That's right.
Look, I'm like, what are you?
I watch for plywood and stuff as I'm driving along the side of the road. That in fact, that's why I got the Honda Trail 90 that I bought from Todd. I bought it so that I could go look for snakes. So I drive out slow, you know, because on the side of the road is where you find debris, because that's how people are. So I stop and I lift up boards and stuff. And I used to have a because I had these a lot when I was younger. I had a Yamaha DC 125, which is a good bike, but it's a two-stroke and it's loud and it's not like. But the Honda Trail 90 just is like whisper and it's easy to get in and out of and stuff. So I go out and I do that early in the morning, and you can also do it at night. But I want to put more lights on it so that I can, because then you shine them along the side. Because the snakes will come up off of the grass that's right along the side of the edge of the road, and they'll come up and they'll lay on the cement. Unfortunately, that's how they get run over too. But you can go out snaking at night too and find them.
Well, you learn something every day.
Yes. Fun fact from
It was quite a
Fromers.
surprise
Yeah.
to me. I'm like, wait a minute, did this guy come out here just to look at snakes? Are we not working on the car?
What car?
Yeah, well, the one behind you.
That's the wrong blue, by the way.
This color is?
Is the wrong blue.
But it is this is Santa Fe blue.
That's
Not this
Santa
one
Fe.
is,
not.
but will be Santa Fe blue, right?
Right,
Okay.
we'll do that again.
So Santa Fe blue, which as we all know, GLH stuff notwithstanding, is the best color ever for an Omni.
It's up on my list of
Yeah.
favorite cars, and I'm not much of an Omni guy, but I keep looking at it. How many times have I repeated this gonna look good? In the right blue.
And after you see the engine compartments, which we're hoping is going to be painted tonight, after we see the engine compartment, we're going to be like rubbing ourselves on it. Stuff like, oh, this looks good.
I'll be sure to be out here by then.
Yeah.
JB's asking if we're dropping a common block in the Omni.
Or the older 2.2 block. So it's an 87 block. It's
Yeah.
going to be the older block.
Not a common block. It had a common block in it.
Yes, it had a 2.5 common block in it, but because we are swapping it, doing a legal swap into it, the block has to be date coded for the year of the car that we are taking it out of, essentially.
Yeah, so we actually have multiple backup blocks, and the two that were on the first two that we, they're brother blocks. They're a week apart.
That's right. You found those two, right?
It's weird that they were cast a week apart, but I think what some people might notice on film is the ridge at the top of the cylinders, and I'm wondering if you wanted to comment on
Oh, on the motor that I was putting together?
the upper bore.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
where the ring stops and comes back down.
Yeah, that's and you guys all saw this from the Pontiac motor also, and especially on that one, especially those early motors from back in the 60s, they wear. I mean, the bore wears. Like if you go get the LS motor that's in that truck, or we go get wreck yard motors, we take the heads off of those. There's no ridge at the top. There's no wear. A lot of times you can still see the crosshatch in it. They basically just don't wear. But the older ones would wear a lot, and then you'd end up having a ridge at the top, which I'm sure you've used a ridge reamer before. You got because the piston won't even come out unless. And what I did on the Pontiac was I just took a porting tool, basically a cartridge roll, and just laid back the edge of that ridge so it would ski jump up the. It's basically made into a ring compressor, so I could get those out because I wasn't gonna redo it, but we did the same thing. I unstuck the rings and put more gap in them.
But do you think that, can you attribute that wear to either the cylinder material with or without the coating, or the quality or type of ring?
I honestly think that I think it's a block material thing. I think that the block material would wear more because as we got into later, so like a 5-liter Mustang doesn't wear either.
Well, they're the best ones ever.
Well, yeah, it is the best one. I mean, it's no Chevy Sprint Turbo, but it is close. I think it was the metallurgy for the block.
It's interesting. Remember BMW, Greg's BMW guy. Remember Nikasil, the
Yeah.
Nikasil line, and then what was the other one?
Alumisil is
Alumisil, and then they went to the other one. I don't know which one was
Yeah.
first. But yeah, I remember I had one, and I remember I was relieved to know that I had the better one that did become an oil burner.
One of the manufacturers had something called the spray bore or something like that, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe one of the guys will comment.
Well, I thought that's what they did.
Is that what it was?
I thought they were both. I
Okay.
thought that's how they applied
Okay.
that material.
Yep.
And I think modern engines are still
think they're
maybe
doing
built
that
that
again.
way. Yeah.
JB also asked if
we had to use the older block because of the emissions, and also the 742, it's actually a 782 head. Would meet CA. Well, they only had one head
Yeah.
later on. They were still casting. When did they stop using the? I mean,
Although we found out in looking at the heads, there's that casting number head, but there's that casting number head with the squirters and one for the slider cam and the one for the roller cam, right?
Yeah, so the 782 head is called the swirl head or the fast burn
Yeah.
head.
And that's what it'll have for an 87,
That's
right?
what we'll have.
Yeah.
But it will still have the slider cam.
Yep.
yeah. So that needs to be brought up. So it's a
It's a flat tappet cam.
pretty much.
Yeah.
But the followers are actually the rockers.
Yep.
And they're pretty wide. And we weighed them today.
Yeah, tell them about that.
So 106 grams, I think.
Yes.
Slider.
On the slider rocker or follower.
Yeah.
Cam follower. And the roller follower, which we would see in 88 and up,
In the same head, different cam, was 76 grams. So much lighter. Much
Big,
lighter.
yeah, big, and that's per rocker, so that's a big change. It's a big change in valve train weight.
Yeah. I think that's kind of neat.
And do they use the same valve height on both of those cams? Is the valve length the same on both of those?
It's on the cams. It's the same height.
Okay.
But on the old head versus the new head,
The bathtub head though, the real
yeah,
early one,
the
right?
valves
Okay.
are a different length.
Yeah, so you got to watch out for that because if you're not paying attention and you throw in the 782 valve in a G head,
Yeah. That is too tall.
it's
A
too
little
tall,
Yeah.
too long. He noticed something today, and I might be complete. Well, this might confirm my stupidity, which was the keepers were different from the intake to the exhaust.
Right.
I didn't know. How many heads have I pulled apart and I've never noticed that? And put together, by the way, so I would have had to notice that, and I
Yeah.
can't believe that's a detail that I didn't.
I only noticed that because I was trying to put two different ones on one.
Right. Yeah, I don't know
And
that.
after I was done cursing at it, I finally
Figured
said,
it out.
"Oh yeah, maybe I should look at this and figure this out." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's like way different."
Yeah. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, that doesn't. I mean, you think
They're
for
both
ease of
effective.
manufacturing that you just
Keep
have
it
one
safe.
group of things. Because if you do that, that's another mistake that assembly guys can do. Even if you have assembly guys that are really good, but if they have to alternate them,
No, there's just more parts you have.
yeah,
to have.
and another part number, yeah.
Yeah. T. Haman asked if these guys in the neons. I used to autocross.
neons back in the day, first gens.
One of my GLHS has some neon parts on it for suspension. And yes, Brian is a huge SRT4 nerd. So there are.
They do make good
Yeah.
power though.
They
There's
make
no
good
doubt
power.
about that.
It's a different world.
It's a different world, but same bore spacing, and you can.
Yeah, some stuff interchanges.
Yeah,
With
it's-
a little modification.
You definitely see
The evolution of the 2.2 in the 2.4.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say, the Lotus was like, you know,
It was
The
a
intermediate
it was a
between it, right?
precursor to
Yeah.
The
2.4.
transition between those
because
two.
it's 16 valve cross flow DIS.
Right.
You know.
And they learned a lot from that
Yeah.
program. And then
It would be interesting to know when they started, the development team started with the engine that would become like the SRT4 and the PT Cruiser and stuff.
that was yeah,
When that group started
Yeah,
relative
yeah,
to
right,
the guys
to the
from
Spirit RT.
yeah,
Factory
Spirit
work.
RT and the Daytona and stuff.
Right.
That was an interesting thing
And that was
walking
another
around. It's hard not to, like we talked about your T1 is amazing, but you talk about that like you go, okay, the T1 made this much power, and then the T2 made this much power, and then the T3, it's a step up. And as you're deciding what kind of motor to put in your car, you're like, how do I not put, and then looking at an SRT4, you're like, how do I not put in the motor that makes more and more power? But yeah.
I think it's I think a lot of it's personal taste
Yeah.
and what your direction's going, and I like the neat, the SRT4 stuff is cool.
Yeah.
But I like air specific things because I'm a
nostalgic kind of guy. That's just me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Engine swaps can be fun. LS swapping things could be fun.
LS swap your neon.
Yeah.
LS swap your Omni. I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of feel like a hooligan if I were to do that. You know what I mean?
You would definitely put the front wheel drive version of it, the LS4, in it,
Yeah.
although with a better intake manifold.
Yeah. When it cleared the hood.
Yeah.
Well, probably not actually, but but when you and I were, well, we've been talking the last few days, and you know, I have plans on going 16 valve on some of my cars that were never made 16 valve.
Are you going to do a head swap or a complete
It's
engine
going to
swap?
be complete drivetrain swap.
It's,
and-
that's a lot easier than
Yeah.
fabricating all this stuff.
Yeah, so it'll be harness swap too, like this car. As, like,
So
Don't tell them all the secrets.
yeah, but
but then I, you know, after we were talking today, after Brian
whipped out his flow numbers.
you know,
Yeah, big time flow numbers.
big time difference, and it's like hard to even look back now to even think about putting another non-ported head
Yeah.
on an 8-valve car.
Right.
Yeah. Not even touching the valve.
You
Just
don't know
the-
how hard it
Right.
was for me today when I was over there.
With the
Took the
add-on.
valves off and wait. I did the Super Richie razor blade rebuild on this thing where we take the valve and spin the valve and with lapping compound to make all that work. But before I did that, I had to clean the head. And when I was cleaning the head, you got to clean the valve head off, and there's a bunch of stuff on there.
Right.
And all of that stuff on both the intake and the exhaust is a bunch of like debris, basically, the carbon and everything that's built up in there. And I'm like, I can't, I don't want that, don't want that stuff coming out like into the turbo or going into the motor through the intake. So I took it over to where the like porting bench is, and I just put a giant, the coarsest hard roll that they had, and just used my drill. I just wanted to knock that stuff off. And it was so hard not to go, I got to take that short turn radius, or I got to adjust that lip, or I got to do something, because I'm here already. It's on the porting bench. It's literally all there already. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to knock all the soot basically off of there, and then so that it can go back on and at least have a chance at stock life, basically. But it was really hard
That's
not
hard.
to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot of time to do the porting work.
No.
And the gains are
Yeah.
significant.
I did that on the, I ported one intake and one exhaust on the 3800, on one of the 3800 heads.
Hondos.
The 3800s, on the V6. And I spent like 45 minutes maybe on both of them. I mean, it was like nothing. I unshrouded the valves, just went in and basically, I mean, I wasn't porting, I was just going like this, trying to be concentric and just, knocking out the edges and stuff. And so I did a little bit of work, and I got really good gains. And that's the thing with porting is the first part of your work, you get like really good gains, and then after that, the airflow gains get harder and harder and harder and harder, and then you break free, break through, and you have to start over, and that stuff happens. But the porting thing is interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
and you got really
It's
big
really
gains.
hard to not port a head when it's off.
Yes.
It's easy for me because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that looks like work. And if I spend another 4 days on this, that's 4 less days of driving around a mediocre car.
And especially on a head like the 2.2, which is not known to have, stellar airflow anyway. So anything that you could do to improve that is, I mean, because you're talking about getting like, I mean, what was the stock head?
160.
One something.
So you were getting
150s
60 or
or
70
160s.
horsepower, or 60 or 70 CFM gains
Right.
on that head, which is, that's a lot. And it's
It's
even more so, but like if you go from 400 to 470, that's one thing. But if you go from 150 to 220 as a percentage, that's a huge amount.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and when you were doing your head today, I will testify that he did not touch the head that's going on this car. It is stock.
Yeah.
And that had to be hard. When
It was terrible. I was all that I could do not to do just a little bit.
there's no carbon on it, but there's so much casting flash in there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's cast valleys in
Oh,
there.
yeah, if you put your hand in there, you're like, oh, I think I just got my
I
hand.
did
Yeah.
That might have been where I got that splinter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it may be small and shaped wrong, but at least the rest surface is rough.
Yeah,
It's got
they-
all the things.
They weren't. Yeah, they said let's work this thing against us.
Good enough.
But let's hear everything with boost.
Just force it in.
Yep.
Yeah. Bigger. He needs a bigger hammer, man.
That's right.
Always need a bigger hammer. Somebody's trying to jinx us here, asking where the mosquitoes are.
Oh, they're here. But the cool thing is that earlier, and I didn't see them tonight, but the lightning bugs or the fireflies were flying around.
Oh, why
Yeah.
aren't you catching those? You're
I
right.
was.
We'll get you a peanut.
I was
jar.
catching them and feeding them to the snakes.
Yeah, no wonder. Yeah. Actually, usually the mosquitoes are done by 10.
Yeah.
our time, in my experience.
Yeah, but they come over for the live feed. You know how they are.
They're like, hey, heard you guys
Live
got
feed.
beer.
What's up?
Is that live feed or live
We're just
feed?
on the live feed.
Where's all the blood at?
Yeah. Nobody's even drinking or nothing.
Yeah.
Are there any more comments?
Yeah, I gotta send you home with an extra head you can pour. He is going home, probably with
Yeah, allegedly.
allegedly. Hopefully we have, as he mentioned, there are a million combinations to test and try.
Yes.
Because outside of the 2.2 circle, we constantly hear they're all the same junk.
Yeah.
You know, yes or no. So,
Well, and you've seen it all, the slider versus the roller. And the one that we were talking about, that we spent a lot of time talking about, was the NA motor versus the turbo motor. The compression, the change in compression. How much power is that worth? And really, more importantly, will that NA piston withstand, the power and boost that we run on the turbo stuff?
yeah,
I think it won't withstand it with the electronics that are in the cars from the factory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
once
think
it
they're
detonates,
too-
it
Yeah.
might- they might-
But what
But if
will
you
it
had
do?
modern electronics, I think.
Yeah, if we had the tune right on it, you think it would?
I think it would.
well, what's the most fragile piston you've run on
a higher,
Think about jump pistons that you've probably come across.
Well, the one I keep going back to is the LS. It's a cast piston and a powdered metal rod, and it went to 1540. So that's not, and it
Powder
made,
metal, that's
it made
more impressive for
70
the rod.
poles, 70 poles over 1,000 horsepower.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, it didn't just do one. We're like wah wah wah, because after a while you're like, when we're sneaking up on it, we're running those. We're like, okay, let's try. Okay, 7 pounds. Okay, yeah, that likes that. Okay, let's go up to 10. Yeah, I don't know if it's a junkyard motor. It's 10. And once you get up like where you're at 20, you're like, ah, fuck it. Wah, wah, got 22, 25, 28. You don't even care anymore. You're like, this thing does not want to break. And you're like, what's going on here?
That's why LSs are awesome.
Yeah, it was like
They have heart.
Yeah, but the thing is, you find this out about lots of different motors, because the LS isn't magic. If you put ring gap in a small block Chevy, or like I've done it with a big block Chevy, I've done it with a 351 Windsor, I've done it with a Hemi, which everybody tells you, oh, those pistons are made of glass. No, if you put ring gap in them and the tune is right, which they had a real problem with the Gen 3 Hemis not being able to tune them. Yeah, if you put boost on a motor and you still have factory NA timing and you don't know how much fuel is going to it, you are going to blow it up. But when we did it, we can go over 1,000 horsepower before you heard it.
You can get one of these to 1,000 horsepower.
I know, that would be awesome. That'd be a lot of boost.
So they're talking about the color. It's not the correct shade of blue.
Blue, and it turns out that Chrysler reuses paint codes. And so, I don't know, Brian or Greg, you might know. Actually, any of you guys might know. I think that still might be a modern B5 blue.
Oh, you think it is? And this is
That
also
blue.
faded too.
Yeah, it looks,
You
it
see
more
a
looks,
difference from here to here for sure.
I'm thinking
They cover up the seam with the red
B6 or
stripe.
B7 is what I'm thinking.
Well, Santa Fe Blue comes up as B6.
Oh, does it?
On the B6.
So this is a shade off, so maybe it's B7.
But this car is
Frostbite.
definitely different color here than it is in the engine compartment.
Yeah, you can tell.
And thank God they didn't touch the door jams.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't have to paint over
So
the
we think
sticker
that the
that's-
door jams are still original, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
because there's nobody taped off the sticker, which is
Illegible now anyway because of the printing always fades, but I hate when guys tape around the sticker. I'm gonna save this sticker.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand
But take a picture of it and just reproduce it.
it's because you can't read the print on it anyway. So taping it off, you're not saving anything but a crappy looking decal. Now you have paint overspray on it. That looks really good.
Do these have, one of the things that was cool when I had the Nova that Oliver ended up winning, and Oliver's helped out a lot. As a matter of fact, I was on the phone with him when I was talking to him when the truck broke. But the Nova, when I was taking it apart and cleaning it, because it looked like it had been submerged, underwater most of its life. But I found the original build sheet, in the back seat. Do these have build sheets for them? Have you ever?
We've never found those.
No.
yeah.
Because that would be.
I have
cool.
on
Have you
other
found them?
cars, some of the ones that I've scrapped out, yeah.
Okay.
I found one on my Peabody, my 87 CSX.
Yeah, but I've never
I've
seen one on
I've
an
not
L-body.
seen one on an L-body.
Okay.
No.
Why would they do that differently?
The L body
It's just weird.
It's just weird, and we find that out. Well, last 2 days, how
Yeah.
annoyingly weird and just different it is. Oh, we need to go get a radiator. Okay, we got 500 of them.
Yeah.
Not an L-body radiator. You know, that's
Everything's
annoying.
narrowed down. The axles are narrower, Caymans narrower.
And
radiators narrower.
to clear that up, it's always said, you know, K car this, K car that. It's not a K car because it's not a K car because it's an L body. It literally was developed before the K car.
Yeah.
They just happened to then put the K drivetrain in it, but it's still not a K car.
When was the K car introduced?
81.
81. Okay.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is we don't have any K cars here.
Well,
Or this-
Oh, we got a K-car limousine.
Oh yeah, the limo.
It's visiting though.
Dude, that thing is
He
so,
doesn't
that thing
matter
is so
here.
sweet.
He doesn't live here.
Possession is
They
right.
have yet to like drive me around in it. I told them when I was staying at the hotel that I wanted them to come pick me up because I have a broken truck. I wanted them to come pick me up in a limo.
Actually, that was going to be.
The truck's still broke, so.
Yeah, the truck's
Oh
still-
dang.
Who drive you home? I think didn't that car come from California? Was that
I think it
the one?
did.
Yeah, it's a California car.
With really nice paint on it.
Oh wow. Shots fired.
Yeah.
Got
Is that
the,
the animal?
got the Hemi in it too.
Yeah.
That's right. It's got the 2.6 Hemi, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectly working
That's
carburetor.
really a second gen.
Perfectly reliable.
I put. Have you watched
Wow,
the
that's so
video that's
stressful.
up today?
I was watching it when you were snake
Because
hunting.
the boat thing is in there.
Which boat thing?
The clip on the boat.
Oh,
we were
coming-
walking up to the boat talking about the reverse rotation.
Yes, that video. There is a video coming on that boat.
Yeah, it's actually way past due. It's just so much. It's a lot of content. And
That's super cool though. Reverse rotation 340.
who would have known?
I know.
If you don't work on
Yeah.
boat engines every day, sometimes the engines spin the other way.
That's it.
And you find out
The hard way.
the hard way.
Well, that one's from Australia. That they spin them differently down there.
But yeah, exactly.
Everything on the other side of the equator.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it does have a toilet in it.
The boat does.
Yeah.
We're all set.
A turlet, they call it. So
Is that
that's
where you're hanging out for the week?
where he's staying. We told him we had a cabin after the farm. We didn't say what.
I want to stay in the bus.
Yeah.
I saw other people from the Hills Have Eyes movie in there. I'll be fine.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you'll get plenty of sleep
Oh
in there.
yeah.
Mark is saying, is there a
Need more
train? We
murder
can
in the
hardly
hotel
hear
saying
anything.
that.
There is a train.
A what?
There's a train.
background,
It seems
yeah.
like it's been going on
Where do you
forever.
think? How do you think that they deliver all the 2.2 parts and stuff?
They come in
By the train loads.
Yeah. You fall off the train.
That's right.
Uh,
And since you guys have coring everywhere, you can just make your own E85, right? And
Right. Yeah.
race it around.
Somebody says, Mark Lucas says there's a guy in Wisconsin. He's got a 13-to-1 and a 822.
That's
I've
all.
heard of that.
That seems like it'd be hard to get with that displacement
I don't
and
know.
available
I think there was a Mexican program of racing,
where they use
and
the
they
2.2.
used the 2.2,
Okay.
and they were 12.5 or 13-to-1 compression.
How are you
And they
getting
made
that?
300. I heard they made around 340 horse.
Yeah, he says
It's over 300. But how are we getting 13-to-1? How are we going from 8-to-1 to 13-to-1 with that limited CC improving?
You have to have a big dome piston like we were talking about. The
A
other
big
night.
old dome piston.
Big old dome, yep.
Yeah. So,
And a milled head. And you could also, instead of milling it, you could fill the chamber and reshape the chamber.
no head gasket. No head gasket.
Right.
We didn't try that.
Yeah, no,
Put that on
yeah.
the list.
Right.
Yeah. We could do like the British.
yeah.
So, what else?
Where are the 2.2 turbo questions?
Yeah, there's nothing. They just talking a little bit, not too much. And it could be that we have pretty slow data right now.
Yeah. We're just catching up.
He says he shaved the head 100.
What's the deck thickness on the head? Do you have any idea?
No, there's a marker there that you shouldn't pass.
Yeah, I've seen that. The way you were pointing that
Yeah,
out
we were looking at it
when I was
today.
telling
Yeah.
you about the Honda
100,000.
deal.
Yeah, what did you tell me?
I had a good story about that because we had back in the day I ran in road racing. I ran in a touring class, and we were limited in our modifications. So he was showing me that pad on how you determine, you measure that and you could see how much has been milled. So what we did was we milled the head, and then we milled the pad, and then we sandblasted the pad to make the pad look exactly like it did before, and then it had the right depth. And we're like, what? That's totally factory, right?
Right.
But then the other thing that we also had to do is because when you mill the head, you're going to change the cam timing. So we made offset keys, that are hidden behind the retaining bolt. I mean, we had totally stock
We
motors.
kind of had this too.
Yeah.
Look,
The
it
parts
looks
were
stock.
the parts were in stock.
Yeah. And before we made the offset keys, I put it on the chassis dyno and we ran endless tests with variable, adjustable cam gears, and then found the spot that we wanted, and then made the offset keys to mimic what was there, allegedly.
Did you ever shear an offset keys?
We didn't in those. We also made sure that we tightened the living snot out of the bolts too, so that we also had some, because they were a little bit proud of the end of the camshaft, so it also kind of helped retain the thing. If you look at a modular Ford, that's how they do it. There's no key. They tighten the bolt,
Yeah, right.
and that holds the sprocket in place. I'm like, that's the worst idea I've ever heard of. But Mahovitz
Not hard
ran
to
those
believe.
like that in his. He ran the 9500 at making more than 2,000 horsepower. So I'm like, yeah, I guess it works.
It's funny because that's how your drill chucks and the drill presses fit, just friction, tapered fit, slam them in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not a big deal if that changes a little bit.
I know, but that's true. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about these are two pyramids
Yeah.
fitting inside each other
Yeah.
with a taper.
Cones, yeah.
You would think one would just fall out.
Yeah.
And somehow they
It works good.
spin in there.
Been using it a long time.
Get us some good questions, fellas. Anything?
Where are the questions?
Uh,
I'm gonna walk up and see. What are you guys doing? Come on.
Earlier there was a question about a hybrid head. I remember when you first started looking at the 84,
Yeah.
and there was a moment where I thought, watching it, that maybe you took everybody saying you need the 16 valve, swap that. At that moment, early on, did you know that there was a Lotus 16 valve head, and maybe that's what they were talking about? Or did you think that everybody was talking about the neon head on the 225?
I didn't know that that's what they were talking about. I thought that they were talking about the SRT. I immediately went there because I thought that that's what guys would have done. Putting the Lotus head on there wouldn't have been something that I would have done. If I was going to do that, I just would have put that whole motor in. It would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that mod personally. I don't know. He'd rather just SRT4 swap the world.
Well, and if I had a 2.2, why wouldn't I just put a 2.4 that already had that on there and was already a turbo motor? If you're going to do that, just put that in there, and you get.
I mean, it's pretty popular. It's gotten way popular. I don't know if it's just out of fun. I mean, it works, doesn't it? I mean,
What's that? Swapping the whole motor, or?
No, just the neon head swap.
Yeah, Bruce has one.
It's
Well, the benefit to that is the transmissions in these cars, the starters in the back,
Oh, okay.
and on the neon stuff, the starters in the front.
Okay.
And there's some bolts that don't line up between the engine and transmission between the two different. So swapping just the head, the benefit is your engine and transmission are
Still
still
bolt in.
matched. There is some complication to the head swap though, because the
How do you
water
drive the
and
cams
oil
and all
are
that?
reversed. Same way.
Yeah?
With a timing belt. With a timing,
Timing
belt.
belt.
No, I know, but do you have to add tensioners or anything?
I think there is an extra idler.
I think they
pulley
add an
that
idler.
they bring in.
I don't know what the tooth count is on the belt.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's
From another model or not, but I don't know. I always just had zero interest in it. I thought it was neat to know.
Yeah.
It'd be really neat if you didn't have to return the oil back externally.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's still neat to know, and again, it shows the evolution, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still I think those are great engines, you know, and for what they are as far as production costs and power output, and what they do in the SRT4s can be, you know.
I almost think that would be a cooler idea to put that head on an NA one. You're starting out with one that was like 100 horsepower or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you put that on there and put a turbo on there. That would kind of be cool.
well, they did that with the Maserati
Yeah.
heads back in the day on the IMSA race. They did natural aspirated. In fact, I have a couple of those heads.
Oh, cool. That would definitely help. Lots of head feel.
Is the IROC Daytona overall a better car than the earlier Daytona? So none of these guys are Daytona guys.
Yep.
I
You
am.
have to answer that.
I tell you what.
Daytona guy.
Well, the IROC RT.
So I think
Yeah.
overall, you know, it's still a K car. And as far as the later ones being better than the earlier ones, yes, the K members are largely improved.
Yeah, there's a lot of
A lot of the brakes are way better.
Did they change suspension on the later one? Did the pickup points?
You know, it's
different or
funny. I was
anything?
looking at part numbers for springs the other day. I never realized how many zillions of part numbers there are for a spring for one particular model. For like, I think it was looking at H bodies, and it was pages
Wow.
in the FSM of part numbers for a spring.
What for different variations?
I
that they
guess
had?
I don't know. You know, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I was reading line after line after
Yeah.
line. So, but as far as the Daytona goes, chassis wise, the improvements were in the struts and the dual hinge knuckle or the control arm.
Yeah, the front control.
We
arm.
call that the
lower one.
minivan.
Well, they
minivan?
started
Yeah,
that
one
in
is the dual
89.
hinge.
Yeah.
And that's a big improvement.
Yeah, so on the lower control arm being an A type, they'll have a hinge in the front and a stub, like a thrust arm, but integrated in as an A arm.
Okay.
You know, so you hit a bump, you know, the stub is taking that blow. Well, in the newer car, what year they do that?
89 about.
89.
89 in the G body?
Wow.
Yes.
And then they just replace that stub with another hinge.
Okay.
You know,
Well, and that improved the problem with the torque steer too.
yeah, because that's actually kind of an interesting point, because I was going to bring up a boosted Honda, and what do you see those front wheels doing when they dump the clutch in that? If you're looking at that car from the side, you see that wheel, you know, it's running all over the place. It's bouncing off of something, and if you know, that'll probably, you know, break things and make things flex and rebound. And but if you get rid of that thrust rod and just go to the dual hinge, it's in there pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that does for caster or handling, if that affects it at all, if it keeps the caster.
Did the later Daytonas get heavier?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I mean, if they
Not
did, it would have been.
significantly.
If they did it, would have been the 15 feet of rubber nose they put around the front of
Right.
those.
No, yeah.
You know, and the later ones on the 92s and 93s, which would have been the last year.
So were those fairly light cars? Like not like that, not like a.
They were one of the heavier of the Chrysler
Yeah.
front wheel drives.
They were
Okay.
tubbies, yeah.
Okay.
But they did make a lightweight.
Yes,
They
yes.
did.
Yeah. And the in the 80 is it 87, 88? Then they make a 8. What's it called? The AT. There's a
ACR or something?
No.
That's later.
It's like a, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
It looks like a Pacifica. I think
Was
it's
it AGS? No.
AG,
AG something?
maybe AG
ASZ,
something.
it's not ASC. Those are
It was
the
3 letters from the English alphabet.
yeah. In series.
Yes.
There might have been an A. There
Yeah.
might have been
Yeah.
It looked like a. It looked like a.
Does anybody know? Does anybody know?
Somebody
what
does
you're
know. Let's see
They
here.
were,
It's CS, but there was a body code. It's called the A something, and it was just the CS brake package. It looks kind of like a Pacifica, so it looked like a base model Daytona with no ground effects, if I recall correctly, but it had a spoiler.
it didn't have air conditioning, I don't think.
Well,
Yeah, the early
Or-
ones didn't get
or-
power windows, or
yeah.
it was really
Yeah, it was
So
really
it was like
a
a base
lightweight.
heavy
paper
and
kind
all
of
across
thing?
the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
but I always like Daytonas, and that is why one of my videos that we did a wheel around, because there was a Daytona sitting right over here, and Greg, you're in that video, and.
Star.
That was the day I was literally here shopping for a Lemons car, not a Lemons Rally or a Lemons Race. It was a Lemons Rally, and you know, AGS, AGB, maybe DK. I don't know.
So we'll call it the Club Sport.
Yeah, maybe the
In
earlier
Porches
version
Street.
of the ACR before they called it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it was just one of their codes.
Yeah.
That they would have used. But anyway, I was here looking for a car, and that car had been sitting there, and I always liked the first gen Daytonas, you
They're
know.
the best.
Yeah. You think? Yeah. They're the
Absolutely.
best, but not the best.
They're
Well,
the best.
first
Well, they could
the,
only be
yeah.
the second best. So
Yeah.
Right.
Laser
was the same body too, the G body.
Yeah. Yeah. The laser. You see a lot of lasers around. You know, I have a theory about that. I think the old moneybags people would buy the lasers in the old days, but they weren't as good looking. Sorry guys, I don't think they were good looking. They didn't have a nice spoiler. They had no ground effects. They said laser on the door, pretty cheap. I mean, they're pretty cheesy looking cars, but
Really? You got Because the XT package. Really?
the
The only-
XTs had the electronics, and it was a talking car.
It
It was
was.
a turbo before you
Hey.
had a turbo in the GLH.
Growing up, my dad had an 85 Laser XT.
Yeah.
Turbo 1413.
They were cool. The
They were good
XTs
cars.
Yeah.
So they had
Talking
kit
car
from
did
Night
the
Riders,
best.
basically?
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
GM didn't have talking cars, did they? When did they do?
The Tornado ever drop?
I don't know. I thought their CRT was the big thing in
That
the
was
late
cool.
80s,
I remember
right?
that. I remember getting lost in that.
Because they got, yeah, that was their claim to fame, I think.
So I saw the car sitting there, and well, it finally, after seeing it sit there for so long, I was like, I just got it. I gotta steal this car from another club member that actually owned it. So, and I knew it was probably not a good idea because it had no floors left in it, you know. And
This is Ohio.
this is Ohio, and that's my luck, by the way. Oh, you like me? Let me.
Yeah, yeah, come on. I'm new love.
Everything's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Everything's
Flintstone.
fine.
Exactly.
Everything's fine. Don't look under the
Yeah,
carpet.
no, nothing to see
Help
there.
yourself to where
Look
you
at the
need to go.
outside.
Yeah. I have the same basic shape I had when I was produced 38 years ago. You know, and
But yeah, I knew it was going to be rough, but
I liked it because it was a cool challenge, and it showed us that, you know, it being a K car, that it has now a 1990-91 floor in it from a Dodge Spirit.
Okay.
You know, now they're not.
Did you cut the other one out and put it in there? Or are those
Yeah,
floors
he cut
available?
the other floor and fuel lines out of it.
Okay.
And, well,
Oh,
I don't know if anybody
those were
heard
just
that.
in the way then?
I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
heard that. So the
You
fuel
can't
lines
remember
run.
everything.
Yeah, the fuel.
and they both said it before it happened. But the fuel lines run up the passenger, beneath the passenger seat on that side, and they cooked the fuel lines. I'm like, I got it, you know, but went ahead and plunged a little too hard and
Yeah.
diced them.
So when you said I got it, you actually got it, right?
I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hit them. They're in the way, man.
I totally got
And
it.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So that sucked, but it happened. But yeah, you had a floor from
From a wreck or something. Was thinking ahead, thankfully, and saved that floor. They are a
Well,
little.
floor's got to be like gold out here, right?
Yeah, they're a little different, but they were
A little
it was,
different, but if you
was
trim it in
manageable.
the right place, it drops right in. Yeah,
Did
so-
you did you like spot weld it, or how did you guys put it in there?
We welded it.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of stitch weld and everything. And the only other thing that sucks is the floor is part of it, but the way they're shaped is the floor comes in and then turns down, and you have on that car, not this car. This car is different. Then there's a center galvanized. Is it a box? Or is it just
Part of
one?
the rocker box,
But the rocker's another piece.
Right.
So at the
It's an
pinch
inner-
yoke, yeah, it's 3 layers that they go boop, 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 all the way along.
Yeah.
And the rust likes to climb up that, you know, from the outside. If if it's not getting water in the car, the rust is coming up through that rust jack.
It's
and-
trying, right?
Yeah, it gets in there like rust has a mind of its own,
Yeah.
especially out here. But it gets up in there and separates everything. And if you still have a good galvanized strip, like it did,
Yeah.
then you can still form a new angle to get the floor back in there. And that's what we did. We still have to do the rocker. There's no rocker on
Right.
it. But we got ground effects, so you don't need to
Yeah,
know
that's it.
there's no rocker under those ground effects.
Yeah,
That's right. I got seats for
So you have structured ground
Wait,
effects.
Bruce gave me seats.
Wait a second.
Exactly.
Bruce hooked me up with seats for it. 'Cause the front seats were, you know,
It was Mark Cross leather.
and pretty beat up. And but I always liked those cars, and I always thought that leather was nice. And but you know what's weird, Bruce? I don't know what those did. Those come out of the Daytona? Those seats?
As far as I recall, yeah.
They sits tall. It sits tall. I feel like I'm sitting on top of an inflated pillow. And yes, it does have the hand pump to pump up the lumbar.
Oh, that's
It
right.
is not inflated.
That's not it. That's not
No,
for the
it's not.
bottom.
It just
You put
sits-
extra lumbar in it.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying to be honest with you. It's not as comfortable as all the other Daytonas I've ever driven had. The best seats I've ever sat in.
So the floor had nothing to do with it
The
then?
floor, I didn't put the floor in higher. I put it back in where it was. Lower, if
It was
anything.
close.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow, I missed that by a lot.
The thing is, those seats may have low mileage on them too, so that could be another, thing, so.
Yeah.
There's a,
Yeah, I mean, you would think, that it gets stiff, but those seats are pretty good. They're not, they're not rock hard where they're just not giving. They give.
There were Caros.
Yeah, they're not Recaros,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of
Pretty close though.
the shape.
As far as
they
Sport
from
enthusiast.
production car
they
standpoint, they're
they
really-
put some darn nice seats in the Daytona.
Do they have
they're
flesh
nothing like
velour
that.
like that?
No.
Only the best.
That's right.
Cameron wants to, he's going to be here in a bit with a 12-pack. Bruce probably drink that before anybody.
Does he have the Richard locator on? Does he know
Yeah,
where we are?
he's gonna help us wash he wants to wash the boat.
Are you can wash the boat.
Dude, you can wash the boat.
Dude,
We're
tune
all over
it
that.
up too.
actually
Important
runs-
safety tip, it spins the other way.
Yeah, it's reverse rotation.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That would be cool. Get that thing out of here.
Yeah.
Well, we do know somebody with a pond we could test drive the boat.
Oh, that'd be
You do?
Yeah, I do.
we could use all that water meal churned up
Well, because you got so excited about the boat.
I gotta tell you, because it was an early '70s 340, which is, if you've ever tried to find a 340, it's like ridiculous.
That's what I try to tell these guys, but
Yeah.
they're like, no, no.
Oh
no.
no, a 340
All I said was
is like,
it's just a
yeah.
small LA.
It's not a 360, Brian.
I know, it's better.
Oh, yeah.
340s
No,
are better.
I can go to the wrecking yard and find hundreds of 318s and 360s, but you'll never find a 340.
Nope.
Especially
Will you
that-
find one that has one formerly perfectly straight rod that is straight again?
Is the rod broke?
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Allegedly.
It's fine. It's good to go.
Is it hydro lock?
No, it runs fine. It's fine. Don't ask any more questions. It's fine. It runs on all 8 cylinders backwards, like it's supposed to, apparently.
Right.
So, but actually, when you were talking about that earlier, I thought that would be funny. I think, you know what? What? Yeah, I started. This is how I think. Come into my head, Brian.
No, I'm not going to
Yeah.
that.
Come on in, guys, because I did start thinking and starting to weigh the legality. What's going to happen if I stick that in the lake around here and we get busted? What do? They give me a ticket, obviously, number one.
But what
No,
are
I
you
don't-
gonna
I
what are
don't
you
think
gonna
they
be
would
doing
impound the
wrong?
boat, right?
No
Yeah.
license. It's not licensed.
So
So you all you have to do is go into the marina and you give them money and they give you a sticker that you can put on the side of it.
Is that how that works here? I don't think so.
I think in Ohio you gotta go to the license bureau and get your.
Get the number.
But you can get it that day.
registered.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
can
it's hard.
get
We
it
can
Yeah,
get
it's
stuff
just a,
You gotta have a title though.
The best way to go is just a private pond.
That sounds too safe.
when we go register the boats and go in the lake, we don't give them a title or anything.
I know that Michigan is
Vastly different than Ohio because I've been, I've seen.
Well, I'm not thinking that we need to take a trip in that
No,
thing in
no.
Lake Michigan.
I'm saying that. I know that.
That might be a little on the adventurous side.
I know that Ohio rules and
Yeah.
Michigan
Oh,
rules
yeah.
are not compatible.
Yeah,
so
probably
states
not.
have different boat rules.
Oh yeah.
But nevertheless, now I'm thinking, well, maybe that might be good content. Will I get arrested? Will Bruce?
We know that we'll be calling the police so you get good video.
arrested? Is that what you're
I kind of don't want to be arrested, but now I want to know, would I get arrested? It's just a boat in the water.
I know. What could happen?
Yeah, what could go wrong? I think it'll float. I think we found the drain plug.
I think the worst thing that's gonna happen.
Is there water in it?
There was no water in it,
There's no water.
and it was outside, and it was uncovered, so I knew there was no plug in it because it wasn't full of water when we picked it up.
Okay.
It's full of ice.
Because it rained hard here just the other
Oh
day.
yeah, you're right. Oh,
Yeah.
Did we put it back in?
Where did this boat come from?
Hopefully the plug's not in. Field.
We did not put it back in.
No. It was sitting out in the field somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
No way. Wow. This guy
Is it
Christ
fuel
engine
boat?
in it.
Yeah, 440.
Sweet.
Yeah, Larry Keller says 73 of them are troopers for hanging in here for this chat.
Nice.
Give us some questions, buddy. What do you have? What do you want to know about?
Yeah. Where are my regulars?
They're in here. That boat came from just around the corner from where that Shelby came from. I mean, they were neighbors pretty
Oh,
much,
okay.
and that's just a pure coincidence. It had nothing
Just it was sitting out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did notice that when we were driving, you came and picked up the truck
There's a
with
lot
the
of
trailer.
stuff sitting out there.
Yeah, that there were like every house we went by, you're like, oh yeah, that guy has a Belvedere, and that guy has this, and that guy has that. And that guy, like, because after you've driven by there 100 times, you're like, I know that one, I know that one, I know that one. That was just sitting there rusting. Why does that guy sell that? It's it's that.
Lots of garages here in Ohio.
Yes,
So
Lots of barns.
cars.
Lots of
barns. Yeah,
barn
this is where we did the barn stories, right?
Yeah, and in fact, that's funny you mention that because that car right there, it's out of frame, is the 86 GLHS, was a barn find, right, Brian? According to Discovery Channel.
It was, yeah.
Don't believe
Oh.
everything you see on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, it wasn't a barn though.
That one was in the barn.
They were in the barn, but they weren't like.
It was barn
They
adjacent.
weren't neglected in the barn like
No.
traditional barn finds. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, so the backstory to that is Discovery Channel came looking for some Dodges at some point. I sent them your way
Yep.
through another friend, and they were looking for a couple cars to make a show on Discovery called Fat and Furious, and scripted show out. I think they filmed it out in Youngstown.
Yeah.
And yeah, they needed some cars to fake their script, and I guess Brian got some free parts out of it. They got to make up a
It
story.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It was all good. It just wasn't true.
it just
But it
wasn't
was so
true.
fun.
It was an entertaining
You
show.
said those
I
guys
like
were
those guys.
cool guys, though, right?
They're very cool, and all the people that I dealt with there were super nice, everybody.
And that's a
But
cool
it's a
car to
script,
have
it was
on.
for entertainment.
Actually, and at the time, you know, that was years ago.
Now at this point,
About 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I feel like they especially had no love back then. But so I know that the Circle was pretty excited when those cars hit the air. So you had what's faster, Spirit RT or Shelby GLHS?
Which actually is a good question.
I think
You know,
I
because
think a
they're
Spirit
both
RT's
similar.
got to be faster, right? I know top speed it would definitely be faster.
Spirit RT that's a whole nother. It's a different, and that's why I want you to drive one because you know, not that they're better per se. It's the power
I
band's
almost
different.
bought one before I got this. I was excited about it, especially after I started reading it was the world's fastest production car.
So
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to put up a poll, Larry, because
Yeah.
I'm not.
Larry's always coming back with a poll, but that's good. Well, we'll have one tomorrow. We were just trying to figure out tonight. Really, was will the live feed even work? Because unfortunately, in combination with the Faraday cage inside, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, would we have enough internet? Do we have hotspot power? Could we even make this work? So that was what tonight was, and then I'll try to come up with. It's a lot easier on my laptop to be able to do polls rather than having to do it on my.
We'll do it verbally. Yes or no?
yeah,
Yes
we
or
can,
no?
yeah,
We
we
can
can just
fill the
ask him a
chat.
question.
Because I'm looking at my phone through my account, so
Yeah.
and he's streaming with his phone on his account, so
Yeah.
I can't put a poll up for his account on his stream. Makes sense?
No, but I can still ask the question.
So you can
that's
ask the
easy enough,
question.
yeah.
Can we think of a yes or
Yeah.
no? You could work on that. if
Okay,
you
no, I
decide.
don't need to work on it.
Oh, you got one?
I'm a pro. Come on, it's not my first rodeo. Will the transmission, the new rebuilt Corvette servo transmission for the Silverado, will it actually work? Is it a good working
Marketplace
transmission?
reman.
Marketplace reman. When we put it in, is it going to work? So yes or no? Let me know. Let me know in the comments what you guys say.
Will it throw a boat?
And we'll tow a boat and Ben to jail.
The thing that sucks is some other people.
Well, you're not catching me, copper. I jump in this one. I can't swim, man.
No, you got a 340 in there. You're gonna outrun them.
Yeah, we're getting yeses. Give me a no. We like contradiction.
It will probably work.
It will probably maybe work. A little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I look at it in stages. So first of all, is it even the right transmission compared to one that's in there? Will it actually bolt up? Will that converter work? Is the tail shaft the right thing, to work in the four-wheel drive? Once we get over all those hurdles, then after we start it up, will it go into gear? And then I'm not worried about it. I want to go through all those before I worry about whether it stays in gear like all the way home. Baby steps.
Remember, it's extra manufactured,
Yeah, that's right. Not
So-
just manufactured once,
but they did it twice.
but
for-
remanufactured.
So you have a four-wheel drive truck that you got in California. I thought they only sold two-wheel drive up there.
No, they're all four-wheel drive there.
He's a northerner. He doesn't
Yeah.
count. He's like a fake
Gotcha.
California.
I bought it in Southern California. Because that's where I was. That's where I was stuck.
I think someone stole it, drove it there, stole a Honda, and left.
And I got my Honda back. They drove it till it ran out of gas and then abandoned it. And took my $4 and change that was in the ashtray. I would have given them the money. You know how hard it is to find a good ashtray? Can't even find those anymore.
That's the smoker's package.
I know. Yeah. No. I mean, it had never been smoked in, at least obviously with me it never had been.
Right.
But when you go to a wreck yard and you try to find an ashtray, they're all gone. I'm like, what are people doing with ashtrays?
Yeah, so when I actually already made this comment, somebody made the comment earlier on, I can't remember who, they said, you will fix the Omni and tow the truck home, which I said probably day one. I also thought that
Not
was,
with a 525 probably not.
yeah, just stay out of boots, it'll be fine. Don't go through Colorado.
Or up in the hills in Wyoming or California or
We've been,
Nevada.
yeah, we've been so busy, and I think the first day we actually even touched that truck. I did go pick up the transmission.
We haven't even put air back in the tires yet.
Right.
Yeah, so the ride's better now.
But I did catch 2 snakes. So, priorities.
I put him in.
Yeah.
We should put him in Brian's van.
He's driving the van home.
But
That thing's been everywhere.
yeah. What else? So we didn't have any time to actually look at the trans like you were saying.
Yeah.
So I pray that that is a 4L60E that we picked up.
Yes.
It was kind of in a disintegrated box that had been sitting around. It had gotten wet.
And it says C6 on the side of it, so I don't know what that means.
I didn't even notice that. Did you?
No, I didn't.
I don't know. It means case number 6. I don't know.
It means Ford transmission, I think.
Hopefully. But
Yeah, so we didn't even look underneath the truck to see. Like, why do you know it's got a 4L60E in it? How do you know that?
I don't. Somebody told me
Oh,
that.
Jesus, I hope that guy's right.
I mean, what else could it have? It's a 5.
Rumors are never wrong.
I know. What if it's a 4L80?
What is it? Yeah.
I'm gonna come up short.
It's getting a 525 is what it's going to get.
That's right.
Got a
2 of them.
No, you only need the one just sideways because it's a built-in transfer case.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to just have it just be front-wheel drive anyway.
You want a dog? What do they call that? Pulling themselves with their front legs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So no, it is not a 2-wheel drive trans. It is a 4-wheel drive trans.
Yep. But the trans isn't that. That's the transfer case.
Here's one for Brian, but it will soon be for Richard.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Ooh la la.
Because I know Brian has an opinion. Bruce and Greg probably do too. I have the opinion, but will the 88 T2, so if it's an 88 T2 that we're talking, it's going to be a Chrysler T2 then.
Yeah.
Will the 88 T2 engine stand up to 400 horsepower of stock? This week on Engine Masters.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'd say sure, as long as the fuel's good.
If you don't lean out.
I don't know what he
Then
means
there's
by
question about the
stock. Obviously,
I think stock hardware.
okay, because
Let's
the
say
stock turbo's not going to do that.
Yeah, we know stock turbo's not.
Yeah,
it
won't
can't
make
do it.
Yeah.
Right, it won't
Yeah.
make it, but would the bottom end hold it? Yeah, because it'll be a
Oh,
forged
yeah.
crank.
Bottom
Good,
end was
it's good rods,
Good
full
rods,
floating. Pistons are good as long as they don't get leaned out.
They don't go
But
king
that's
king.
that's the case with all of them, though, pretty much. So I'd say sure.
Yeah, if you put a big enough turbo, and the other thing is, I don't think I would try to do that with a stock intercooler either. I don't think that intercooler is enough for that.
Probably not gonna flow enough there
Yeah.
for that.
But yes, the rest of the motor will. My opinion
I
is
think
it'll
guys
take
are
it.
already doing it. You know,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then and actually,
Yeah.
to be honest, I hope to do it, but not on the T2 on T5. But I think guys are already doing it.
What's the 2.5 is no heavier duty.
Is it?
It's not.
If it's
Yeah.
heavy duty question, yeah, I think the bottom end's good.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a better bottom end unless you go custom rods and custom
Right,
pistons.
right, well, I think that's what
An 88 isn't a tall block yet, right?
No, it's just a
It's
T2.
just a
It's the regular. It's pretty much the same block you have there.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a
Only
combine.
not quite as good.
It's not as good looking. Thanks
Yeah.
to
It
Brian.
doesn't have the right numbers on
Doesn't
it.
have 18 layers of brush.
That's
on,
right. It has like
Plaster.
17 coats of
plaster paint.
tar.
And that's what it looks like.
That paint looks great.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
That's gonna look fantastic.
That
I mean, I personally would have done Santa Fe blue, but
He wouldn't do gold. You guys don't like gold block?
no.
No, we're skipping on the gold.
Nobody likes
We're
it.
going OE block color. That's
Yeah,
it.
I get
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
Yeah.
I have a red, which is funny because you got a red block up there.
On the stand where we got
But I didn't put the red paint on it. Somebody else did.
the red paint. Yeah. I have a red painted block in one of my cars, but yeah, I don't like
Does it go faster?
No, what it does is it tells you when you have oil leaks faster.
Yeah,
Well, that's true.
that's one good thing about black ball. You see what I'm thinking
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, it's a 2.2. It's gonna leak
It's gonna
oil.
leak, so they
Yeah.
know
So,
they better make.
I just want to know from which side of that.
Valve coverage leak.
You don't need
No.
So
That-
are
that's
you
what
saying
makes it fun.
I need to put a piece of cardboard under when I'm driving?
Well, if you're
Yeah.
putting this on a lift, you're gonna want a pan underneath
Yeah.
that, that's for sure.
We could do it. So,
Speak from experience.
Yeah.
so if we're making boosts, let's say you've seen
You've assembled now your own T2
I know,
stock.
bottom end, right? Stock.
Yep.
Uh,
but with ring gap.
with
We
ring
did
gap.
it from Riga.
You did add ring gap. That's right. You went over there. Didn't you walk away for a moment there? It's like, ooh, like, I think I heard maybe too much. You're good to go.
There's no such thing as too
No.
much.
This means it's good
Yeah.
Yeah.
go for more.
And so that you guys know, I didn't even use the fancy Total Seal like ring grinder with the dial indicator and everything. I went old school and put the file in the vise. Actually, he did. And then, how many was that? That was 20. That's gonna be about 15,000.
That's the Benchenier special you
That's
got
right.
there, buddy.
Yeah. And if you count the number of strokes, then you know how much it takes off, and you can nail it within 10,000. Either way, you know, plus or minus.
Which when you're talking ring gap, is great.
Which is all of it, yeah.
Right. And so knowing what you've seen though so far,
Yeah.
and with your ring gap change, what effect? Let's say 20 psi, right? Are we safe to add, in your opinion, 100 shot of nitrous to that? What do we got to do to add 100 shot of nitrous? I'm assuming a wet cake.
My concern for adding 100 shot on top of something that we were running high boost would have nothing to do with ring gap, because it already has enough ring gap. You're not going to get, if you get that thing hot enough to where you would touch where we have sufficient ring gap, you've already blown something else up. So I wouldn't be worried about that. I might be worried about other things with adding the nitrous. I don't know how thick the deck is on the head. I don't know how thick the deck is on the block. I don't know how the strength of other things that would be there. So that would be my concern with ring gap.
Well, we have a nitrous kit here that I don't want.
I have nitrous at the shop too, so that's an easy thing.
Are you going to be able to frag a block then? With some.
Well, I was gonna talk to you guys about that. If one of these things that we put together, because we were talking about putting together an NA motor or a short block, to run that into an NA, you know, a 9-to-1 versus 8-to-1 kind of thing. But if we do that, and it's something we're throwing together that we kind of don't care about, one of those could be a big bang motor where we take a ported head, a good camshaft, a ported one-piece or two-piece intake manifold, and then put like a GT45 turbo on it, and then run it to 1,000,000 pounds of boost and see what breaks.
Well, it's
I mean,
quick link,
yeah.
You know, the Dodge guys will tell you it's a 2.T. It'll take 1,000,000 pounds of boost.
Oh, I'm sure.
It'll never break. I would say,
If we can keep going up in boost, it will get to 1,000 horsepower.
I would say that would cause heavy problems.
That would
Yeah.
be insane.
Yeah, it won't get there.
No, I know.
Yeah, but-
I know.
But what if there's some secret magic with the Lotus and it's a kind of a K series in disguise? Because they'll do 1,000 horse on 4 cylinders.
The Lotus motors?
Lotus headed to too.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean, the 4-valve one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that
yeah, I don't
would be
know
able to do that.
I doubt
Got a
it.
good head gasket and good bolts.
The head
I don't
flow is
know.
enough to do that.
Yeah. Do we know what the head flow is on the Lotus head? What is it on the K series? What does a good K series head got to flow?
A good K-Series Honda?
Yeah.
To make 1,000 horsepower? A stock one will do that.
What do
What
they
is it?
flow
What?
stack?
I think it's a B series. I think a stock one is
250 and 300.
probably around 300.
I don't know. I'm guessing the stock was headed below 300, but maybe over 250. I don't think a ported 8-valve gets to the 300 level.
And where's their horsepower peak at RPM? It's up there, isn't it? On
What?
those K series.
It depends on whether it's a K20 or a K24. The K20 is higher than the 24 is. But it's still only 7,000 or 7,200 or something.
I thought it was a little higher because I've seen.
No, they'll rev higher than that, but like a K24 makes peak power there.
Yep. So somebody's asking if the SRT4 engine is stronger, or how much stronger is it than the 2.2 that you feel running? So they went to the common block in '89 and added some webbing on the back of the block, to stiffen the block, and that helped immensely. So a lot of times that's the block to go to, whether you stay 2.2 or go to 2.5. You in theory have a stronger block. There's also been argument made that by going to a forged crank, because even the cast cranks don't break.
Yeah.
Well, they might break eventually, but we don't see them.
At what point? Yeah.
What HP they're breaking at. Are the rods living and the cranks not in that case? Anyway, that forged crank in theory may have added some stiffening properties to the block to help the block from twisting. Maybe that might be a theory, that might be a rumor. I'm not going to support you. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then how strong are the caps? You know, the caps are
Right,
suited.
well, see, the SRT4 engine is a girdle.
It has a girdle,
And
so that's
it's
what I was
wider
alluding to.
engine.
Well, and I can tell you that if you
There's one right
go
here.
on
online and look at the guys that are drag racing these things, guys are making more than 600 with a 228 valve, but guys are making like 1,000 horsepower with
Yeah,
SRT4
yeah.
stuff. So it's not the amount of power that they can make is going to be a function of one of them has a way better cylinder head. Even a ported head doesn't do what the.
If you're talking just block strength,
Like
Yeah, that's what
bottom
he's
end-
asking about.
Bottom end power capabilities.
Yeah.
the old 2.2 stuff, 2.5 stuff is more old school, just beefy, big, heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the SRT4 stuff is more, and there's more
More
engineering. It's a
technology.
wider block, it's a lighter crank.
It's got the girdle, so it doesn't have just main bearing caps.
I think, obviously the power output
Ability on the 2.4 is more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you can get, I don't know what the real numbers are, but you can get 600, I think, out
Of
of
a stock bottom ended SRT point.
That wouldn't
and you
surprise
can't
me.
do that on an
8 valve. You know,
yeah, it's got that
You
girdle.
have to go with different.
They put girdles on Chrysler's put girdles on a lot of things. They put girdles on the 3.6s, 3.7s.
The 4.7s,
Yeah.
the 5.7 have a girdle.
Yeah, it's weird. They slice the block and it's basically one big main. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one sitting over there.
Yeah.
The bottom there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you see how long we've been on? Oh, 76 minutes.
Yeah.
2 more minutes.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about Dodge stuff. Is there any other questions about non-Dodge stuff?
Guys know that are here that would ask questions about whatever.
Yeah, I am.
Are we getting bots?
No.
Talked about Chevys.
Well, yeah, and when
There's
they
a whole big Silverado
normally what I
thing.
do is when they're asking questions, they ask questions about anything. I have something that like I'll start the live feed with some kind of subject matter that we're talking about how do they put a turbo on a 2.2 or whatever, but then the rest of it oftentimes just devolves into us talking about Steve McQueen movies or whatever weird thing. What's her name? Adrienne Barbeau in Cannibal Run, whatever. Just it just go, oh, look at this shiny thing over here. We go off on a tangent and then we're talking about different things. If anybody brings up the like dimpled golf ball things on the porch, then it goes off in that direction.
Right.
Anything to
that work on pitch?
to get people stirred up and going.
My favorite response is
And the chats that I read sometimes are, my buddy had this, my brother had that.
Oh, yeah,
my dad-"
that's-
okay, that's
yeah,
cool.
that's normal stuff, yeah.
Normal stuff. But it's a simple, innocent question.
question here, non-Dodge related. I'm gonna throw you a bone, Gilbert Ramirez, and he's asking a simple question about, can I put a 2004 Lincoln Town Car engine in a WRX? So you're talking about probably a V8 Ford something.
Yeah, probably a modular motor, I would imagine.
assume,
Yeah.
and also 04 Town Car.
So,
Yeah, that's a modular motor.
yeah, there's one. We drove past once, and it was the one that had no air.
After we picked up your temporarily
broken truck. Yeah, you could say it. It's been a few days.
Yeah, I would assume that you can, engine swaps. You love engine swaps. You love engine swaps.
You can swap anything into anything, just the amount of work, and then is the end result justify all of the stuff that you just did? I mean,
Especially,
it's a labor of love.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you don't care about your wallet or your time, and you have nothing else to do, you can make something completely unreasonable work.
yeah.
With enough time and energy.
And also, we support that sort of thing. Like that level of craziness. It doesn't matter what you decide you're gonna do, or even why you decide to do it. We're 100% all in, even if it's the wrong thing. And sometimes more because it is the wrong thing.
Yeah, and Richard seems to. What I know about you so far, that's your favorite thing to do.
Yeah,
is
we want to see weird.
You don't want me to do that thing that's gonna make you upset? I'm literally gonna go do that thing 10 times over.
And then I'm gonna make a shirt about that I just did that.
Come at me.
Yes. So that everybody will remember and we'll be able to talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I drove a Chevy Sprint Turbo and it, come on.
I give
3
you,
cylinders of 1 liter power.
I give you mad props for that. That's
I just love that car.
it's got to be a lot
My
of fun.
wife wouldn't even get in it.
Why don't you have one? Why don't you have one?
I don't have another one.
Go get one.
How
Where,
much did it
where am I
weigh?
going to get it? Ohio?
There's one probably.
That's hot for sale right now.
And that one got crushed.
Oh, you think?
It did? No, it did. We know from the detective.
Oh, what?
It got stolen.
I know it got stolen, but how do you know it got crushed?
Because it's the detective that found that found out all of these guys that were stealing these cars from this industrial area where the car was, found all of these and said, oh, by the way, your car went to this wrecking yard, and they crushed it.
Yeah.
He's probably driving around in it right now.
Around here, you got to have a title to take a car.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we told them. We said, but isn't that illegal? Yes, it's very illegal.
Same as stealing a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are we on Turbo Mopar? TurboMopar.com is one of the Turbo-Mopar.com, I think. It's one of the many
The groups? Or they're
what we had before
Yeah.
the Facebook.
Yeah.
Were you on the line?
Bulletin board systems that we got on the line,
Yeah.
and then we had web forums. Yeah. I remember.
All right, is that still a thing now?
It's
Are they-
still, still an SDML mailing list. No.
Yeah, it's still a thing. It's
Still a thing. There's a couple of
I like Florida. There's still
TurboDodge.com.
good information on there.
Yeah.
It's the same guys. It's the same circle, just like any other car club. You know, there's circles, and that's how I met you guys. All of you. Yeah. And
Lucky you.
lucky
Yeah.
you.
And your life's never been the same.
It hasn't been the same. That's
It's not a good thing.
In a good way.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I meant.
Good-ish.
Yeah. But it has led us here.
Right.
And yeah, I'm not only a Dodge guy. I like lots of cars.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's a lot of Dodges.
Bruce likes BMW. You like BMWs.
Yeah.
Bruce, do you
Yeah,
have?
I've
your-
owned 2 of them.
Yeah, I've owned several, and I learned my lessons. Did you have a? Don't you have an M635 CSI?
It's 635 CSI, yeah.
That's a shark nose.
I like
those.
those. Shark
like
noses are the
Those
best.
I
are
like those, and I like the 535 version of that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would love to have that with an LS.
Oh, not a Lincoln swap?
an aluminum 5.3 LS with a mild
Or a
camshaft
Subaru,
in it, with
okay.
air conditioning and all that stuff. But like a 450 horsepower sedan like that would
Yep.
be awesome.
Well, I even like the 7 Series from back from that
Yeah.
era.
Yep.
The E28.
Yeah, 733 or
the E28.
735.
Yeah.
E28. I had an E38, and loved that car. It was junk.
Well, I got 6 of the
Oh,
I
remember
like
the
his
E38.
better. I like this.
I
I like the
gave my,
6 Series and the 5 Series better though.
That's
than
what those
7.
side skirts came from. You have a blue one, and that's what those cars, those skirts I
I've
gave you.
got a
The
bunch
sports
of
skirts.
Yeah,
six-
those are cool.
16,
I had
38.
I was telling him that the reason I liked that 635. This was an M6, but and then the M5 version of that was when I went out to the Silver State. One of the first times I was driving my Mustang out, there was a train of these coming from Cunningham BMW, which I guess was a place in San Diego or somewhere. And they had like 3 or 4 of them that they had brought out to this race. So they're like we're roaring down this road, and it's a road out in the middle of Nevada. And so I just tucked in behind them, and we're just motoring along, and we became fast friends. They're like, dude, these cars are so cool. They're like, yeah, we put a header on this one, and put a tune on this one, did all this stuff. I'm like, that's awesome that you guys are also like modifying these. Because for me, they
Yeah.
were like $1 million. They might have been $1 million
Oh.
car at the time.
Yeah.
I was driving a Mustang that I think cost $12,000 when it was brand new. And so I just thought it was awesome, and I've always loved the way that those look, and always wanted one of those.
I'm still a big fan of the E36. I've had
Yeah,
E46,
yeah.
I've had E93s.
Bruce drove the
E36 is the way
E46
to
here
go.
today.
Nice.
E36 was a nice car. When the E46M came out, you know,
Well,
and
that was the
mustard-
first. That was the first 300 like
333 horsepower.
333 horse.
That was a real
That-
motor.
That was a real
Yeah,
motor.
yeah.
But it was like finally we got Europe.
Yeah, because we had
Because
the
up until-
like
right.
230 horsepower
Right.
version before that, right?
Right.
I'm like, that's not an M
Yeah,
series
the
motor.
watered down 3.2.
I know.
wasn't it
That might
watered-
as well be a 528E motor. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember just drilling over the E46. Now I don't care.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
now I probably do prefer the E36 over the E46.
I like
Because of the edginess, you know, the
2002.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those.
A TII would be, or a
turbo.
Yeah,
Turbo.
I know. Those have to be big money. I was telling
Oh,
him
I'm sure,
the
yeah,
guys
that's-
that had those, the guys from Cunningham BMW had those M series. They did an M series BMW i7. So
Oh, nice.
it had the M series stripes. They did the interior, everything. I'm like, oh my god, this thing is so cool. It was by far my favorite because we went to they had like a car show or whatever at their dealership. We went over, we were talking to the guys. I'm like, there's like $1 million cars or whatever. I said, this is by far my favorite car. This is like way cooler.
I kind of want to put Brian in a nice setup.
My grandfather had a nice setup.
Oh, I like it.
He should have never got rid of that car.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah,
they're
I mean-
totally impractical
Oh,
and all
yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
again they're weird and they're
Urkel
cool
had
and-
one on Family Matters.
Exactly, and who's cooler than Urkel? Nobody. Because I'm also
Laura.
I am also a Nash Metropolitan guy.
Nice.
I would love to have
Okay,
one,
yeah.
but I want one of those with like a little twin cam 1.6 liter Toyota, like a 4AG motor
Wasn't that
and a
the
5-speed. Not
first-
because I'm never going to go fast in it, but it looks cooler though.
Wasn't that the first marketed for women car? Or was,
I
that,
don't
the,
know.
or was
I
that
don't
the
think
Mustang?
No, I don't think it was.
The Mustang definitely was. That was
We know the
that was
Mustang
a secretary's car.
I
Yeah.
was a half joke 'cause I knew the answer to that one. But the National, I
They
was
didn't even make it to half.
Yeah. What? That
They
was-
read back on the Nash Metropolitan. They set lots and lots of land speed records with that, and fuel mileage records, which is kind of weird
They're
for,
like
for the
bullety.
50s.
Yeah. They look like.
But they weren't going to set any speed records.
Right. No, speaking of early 60s, you've got something.
Yeah, Alpha,
Yeah, that's cool.
Julietta.
The
Yeah.
Giulietta he's saying. He has
Giulietta.
Yeah, the Giulietta.
Not a Romeo, but a
Giulietta.
Giulietta.
Yes. Is that what? Is that a 2-liter?
Those are
They're all 2 liters.
No.
What is it?
No, 1.6
1.6
or
or 1.8,
1.4.
but it's double red cam.
Double
right?
red
Yeah.
cam, yeah, roughly.
Yeah, they
100.
Every time I hear people like, I have a 1.8 liter whatever, I'm like, I drink that much in
Cola in a day. It's-
Yeah, that's not even a big goal.
I'm like, yeah, that's not a lot.
and then there's a there's an Italian car on the property.
Yeah, another Alpha, 74.
I think you're talking
That's a
about a
2-liter.
Maserati.
That's
That
a
would be
2-liter.
Italian.
So there's an
We don't
Alpha
have a
here.
whole
Is
Maserati
there?
car,
Yeah,
though.
you didn't see it because it's a little guy.
I actually, when I was looking for snakes, I walked back around here, and there's all kinds of weird stuff back here
I
too.
tried to.
There's a
think of
blue like Horizon or Omni back here.
That's the 90. That's
I
a
know.
half-year production car
Yeah.
with an airbag. They took that
Yep.
box,
Relocated the radio,
Really?
the climate control.
put it to the middle.
I walked over and put a
Seatbelts
piece
in
of
the
tape
back.
on it and wrote donor car on it.
Well,
That,
it might be 'cause it's not titleless car, but it was a clean.
Low miles car had nice interior in it.
that's
That's
an NA car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually don't want anybody to personally.
It's not mine, but I don't want anybody to touch it.
I thought that was our car.
It is our car.
Yeah.
It's ours. Yeah.
What's the interior in it?
It's just
It's
a
probably
nicer
this
version of
one.
blue.
Yeah.
Is it like that
It's
kind?
way
Interior, but
cleaner.
it's, maybe it's on,
Actually.
clean.
That's 20
until the mice get in it.
Oh, nice.
Until the mice get in it, and that.
Dang splinter rat.
I,
From the-
Splinter, that's good.
Splinter the rat. He tried to get me twice today.
He tried to get attacked by a rat. Okay, guys, I already called the 2-minute warning. It's time to go. Thank you guys all for showing up. Obviously, this was awesome. We're gonna try to do it again. Hopefully, we'll have bandwidth. Is that the technical term?
We need bandwidth.
We need it all. But thank you guys all for showing up, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. Getaway performance. And